Harbor Freight and must buy don't usually belong in the same sentence until you see these 10 tools. Why are so many people gatekeeping them? Harbor Freight just dropped something that'll make your camping buddies green with envy. The Predator foldable solar panels launched in 2025. And honestly, they're crushing it. Here's the deal. Most people think Harbor Freight only makes tools that go whir and bang. Well, they just schooled the entire solar industry. Their 200-watt panel can fully juice up a Predator 1200 power station in 6 hours flat. The 100-watt version? 4 hours to charge a Predator 600. But here's where it gets interesting. At $129.99 for the 100-watt model, these panels cost 30 to 50% less than fancy camping solar setups. The 200-watt version rings up at $229.99. Makes those overpriced adventure brands look pretty silly, right? Early buyers are rating these panels 4.5 out of 5 stars. They work in rain, shine, and that weird weather where you can't tell if it's cloudy or just Monday morning. Some folks needed extra adapters for non-Predator power stations, but that's like complaining your Honda key won't start a Ford. Harbor Freight is quietly becoming the go-to for emergency prep, while everyone else argues about drill bits. Speaking of smart purchases, and speaking of magnetic solutions, Harbor Freight just dropped something in 2025 that's making organized mechanics everywhere do a happy dance. The Icon Magnetic Tool Mat costs $19.99 and earned a perfect 5-star rating faster than most people can lose a 10mm socket. This 11 by 9-inch surface isn't messing around. The industrial-strength magnets will hold brake rotors, cast iron skillets, and enough heavy tools to make your toolbox jealous. One guy even used it to organize valve springs during an engine rebuild, those tiny parts that usually disappear into the automotive Bermuda Triangle. Here's where it gets interesting. Similar mats from Snap-on or Matco cost $60 or more. That's 3 times the price for basically the same functionality. It's like paying Ferrari prices for a Honda that gets you to work just fine. But the real kicker, Icon backs this $20 mat with a lifetime warranty against construction defects. Most companies won't even warranty their lunch for that long. The compact size means smart users buy multiple units. At $20 each, you can actually afford to organize different work zones without taking out a second mortgage. Try doing that with the premium brands. Your wallet will file for divorce. However, there's one category where Harbor Freight absolutely crushes the competition on performance. Well. Look who decided to make adapters that don't explode under pressure. Harbor Freight's Hercules impact-rated hex shank socket driver set costs $7. 7. That's less than what most people spend on fancy coffee these days. But here's where it gets interesting. These little adapters can handle more punishment than your nephew's excuses for missing family dinner. The word impact-rated isn't marketing fluff. It means these won't shatter when your impact driver unleashes hundreds of pounds of rotational fury. Regular chrome vanadium adapters crack faster than dad jokes at a barbecue. These Hercules adapters? They just keep spinning. Professional contractors, the guys who actually make money with their tools, report these outlast name-brand versions costing $25 to $30. Why? Harbor Freight doesn't have dealer markups padding the price like a winter coat. The hex shank design lets you swap bits instantly. No fumbling with chuck keys like you're defusing a bomb. Just click, twist, done. When you're switching between drilling and driving all day, those saved seconds add up faster than overtime hours. At this price, you can stash backup sets everywhere. Tool bag, truck, kitchen drawer. Because, let's face it, that's where half your tools end up anyway. But speaking of organization, wait until you see what $20 can do to your entire workspace. At $4 to $5 each, these little U.S. General magnetic hooks laugh in the face of gravity while supporting 25 pounds of hanging weight. That's heavier than most toddlers, and definitely more useful. The instant-release design means you're not doing that awkward bend-and-grab dance every time you need something. Your back will thank you, especially if you've got more miles on it than a retired taxi cab. But here's where these hooks really shine. They turn any metal surface into an instant organization system. Toolboxes, rolling carts, even that rusty old workbench your grandfather left you suddenly become command centers for extension cords, air hoses, and power cables. 25 pounds means these babies handle serious business. Logging chains? No problem. Toe straps? Easy. Even smaller welding leads that would rip adhesive hooks clean off the wall and send them flying across the garage. The real genius is Harbor Freight's pricing lets you go absolutely nuts. 10 or 15 hooks throughout your workshop costs less than 2 hooks from those fancy tool dealers who think their hooks are made from unicorn metal. And the color coding? Well, that's just showing off. Red for electrical, blue for air tools, black for whatever doesn't fit anywhere else. It's like having a filing system that actually makes sense. Speaking of making sense, let's talk about drilling holes that don't quit halfway through. These Hercules auger bits cost $25 for a 3-piece set. That's roughly what DeWalt charges for one bit. The difference? There isn't one that matters. Both use heat-treated steel with ceramic coatings. Both stay sharp through entire job sites. The only real difference is the price tag. Like buying the exact same prescription glasses at Costco versus the fancy eyeglass boutique downtown. Professional framers have been quietly switching to these Harbor Freight augers for months. Why? Because losing a $60 DeWalt bit feels like dropping your wedding ring down a storm drain. Losing a Harbor Freight bit? That's lunch money. The screw point tip pulls itself through lumber without you pushing, like you're trying to open a pickle jar. Your drill motor stays cool. Your arms don't turn into overcooked spaghetti after boring 50 holes through doubled-up joists. And here's what really gets me. These bits punch through pressure-treated lumber like it's made of butter. Even battery-powered drills handle 6x6 posts without breaking a sweat. The aggressive threading design does all the work, while you just guide the drill. For plumbing rough-ins or electrical runs through floor joists, these augers eliminate that moment when your regular twist bit starts smoking like a cheap barbecue grill. But the real game changer might be something most people walk right past. Here's the weird thing about beam cutting. Most weekend warriors think they need a $1,200 sliding compound miter saw to handle serious lumber. Wrong! Harbor Freight's Hercules beam cutter attachment costs just $60 and turns your regular circular saw into a precision beam slicing machine. This thing guides your saw through 4x4s, 6x6s, and bigger lumber that's too thick for single passes. Like having a GPS for your circular saw, except it actually works and doesn't tell you to turn left into a ditch. The magic happens with multiple angle cuts. Your blade attacks the beam from different directions, meeting perfectly in the middle. No more hoping your eyeball measurements match up on both sides, because they never do, and we all know it. Built my deck last summer using this attachment instead of renting a big miter saw for 3 weekends. $60 versus $240 in rental fees? Even my wife called that smart, which doesn't happen often. Works with any brand circular saw, too. DeWalt? Milwaukee? That ancient Craftsman from 1985? Doesn't matter. The attachment adapts to whatever you've got collecting dust in the garage. But speaking of collecting dust, there's another Harbor Freight tool that'll make you question why anyone pays premium prices for basic workshop gear. Here's something most people get wrong about pressure washers. They obsess over PSI numbers like they're shopping for horsepower. But the real cleaning power? That's all about GPM, gallons per minute. Harbor Freight's 2650 PSI gas pressure washer pumps out 2.4 GPM for $320. Makes sense, right? That flow rate matters more than the pressure because it actually flushes dirt away instead of just blasting it around like a toddler with a garden hose. Think about it this way. You can have all the pressure in the world, but if you're only moving a trickle of water, you're basically power washing with a squirt gun. The debris just sits there laughing at you. This unit costs less than renting a comparable machine for 3 measly days. And here's the kicker. Gas power means no voltage drops when your neighbor decides to run their air conditioner. No extension cords snaking across your yard like some suburban obstacle course, either. Well, the warranty and parts availability mean you're not buying an expensive paperweight, unlike those big box store alternatives that cost twice as much for the same specs. But here's where things get really interesting with workspace organization. These plastic sawhorses from Harbor Freight sound ridiculous until you actually use them. $20 each for the Bauer model, and they'll change how you work forever. Here's what makes them genius. Built-in squeeze clamps. No more wrestling with separate C-clamps while your board tries to escape like a greased pig. The clamps are right there, ready to grab whatever you're cutting. Plus, those clever slots let you drop in 2x4s to create an instant work table. It's like having a transformer that turns into furniture. But wait, there's more. The plastic weighs about as much as a feather compared to those back-breaking steel versions. My 70-year-old neighbor can move these around easier than I can move my attitude on Monday mornings. Yet they still support serious weight without buckling. The bright colors actually serve a purpose beyond looking cheerful. You won't trip over them in a cluttered garage, unlike those sneaky black metal ones that lurk in shadows waiting to attack your shins. At $40 for a pair, you're spending lunch money for restaurant-quality functionality. Professional sawhorses cost triple that, and your back won't thank you for the extra weight. Sometimes the best tool isn't the heaviest one. Speaking of smart purchases that organize your chaos, ever wonder why professional mechanics seem to find tools instantly while the rest of us play hide-and-seek with wrenches? Well, it's not magic. It's organization. Harbor Freight's U.S. General 15-slot wrench organizers solve this problem for just $10. You get 2 color-coded organizers in one package. One for standard sizes, one for metric. Makes sense, right? Here's the thing that'll make your dad chuckle. These organizers are like having assigned parking spaces for your wrenches. No more digging through toolboxes like you're searching for buried treasure. Each wrench has its own home, clearly marked and ready to grab. The real genius? Color coding eliminates that universal frustration of mixing standard and metric wrenches. You know the drill. You need a 10mm socket, but keep grabbing 3/8 instead. It's like trying to put on reading glasses in the dark. These mount anywhere, pegboard, toolbox drawers, or straight to the wall. 15 slots, each handles everything from 1/4 inch up to 1 inch standard, and 6mm to 19mm metric. That covers 95% of what you'll actually use. At this price, you can scatter them throughout your workspace like breadcrumbs. One in the garage, one in the truck, one in the basement workshop. But here's where Harbor Freight gets really clever with problem-solving tools. Look, I know what you're thinking. A $10 pickup tool? That's the kind of thing your dad bought at a gas station and threw in the junk drawer, right? Well, hold on to your reading glasses because this 24-inch magnetic pickup tool with quick release is actually brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because my knees sound like bubble wrap every time I bend down. The 25-pound lifting capacity means this little gadget can rescue everything from dropped sockets to that wrench you somehow launched into the engine bay. You know the one. It always lands in the most impossible spot, like it's got a GPS for inconvenience. But here's the clever part. That quick release button lets you drop retrieved items straight into your toolbox without doing the old man bend and groan routine. Your chiropractor might actually thank Harbor Freight for this one. The telescoping design collapses to pocket size, so you can carry it in your tool belt or glove compartment. Because let's face it, gravity doesn't take sick days, and neither do dropped 10mm sockets. At $10, you can stash these things everywhere. Keep one in the garage, one in the truck, maybe one by your recliner for when you drop the TV remote behind the cushions. Don't judge me. We've all been there.